Welcome to the Mia Ullman and Debbie Jarrett Show, presented by Glow 365 TV, hosted by yours truly, Master Coach Lady Mia. I'm a certified Master Life Coach in the areas of mental health counselor and practitioner, health and wellness, and a self-empowerment educator. Along with me is Miss Debbie Jarrett, a poet, motivational speaker, writer, and health and wellness advocate. We share honest conversations on the important topics that affect individuals when it comes to living healthy, embracing our kings and queens, the celebrating cultural heritage, and so much more. And now, let's get started. Welcome back again to another amazing show to end the month off as we continue our conversation on this special Men's Health and to celebrate Caribbean American Heritage Month in June. I'm Master Coach Lady Mia, and along with me is my co-host, Mr. Leonard Berg, straight out of Harlem, New York. He's a soul therapist, a psycho-spiritual coach and consultant, holistic educator, dean of faculty for Quayle Works, and one of Glow's advisor.
Thank you, Mia.
Yes, Lenny, it's great to have you back again. But first, before we get into the specifics of this evening's show, let me introduce our four special guests that will be joining you later in the roundtable discussion on wellness. First up is Dr. Elder Bonhomme from Haiti. He's a neurological physical therapist at Physic Orlando and past president of the Greater Haitian American Chamber of Commerce. Next is Mr. Louis Witter from Jamaica, owner and host of Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network, and attorney Wayne Golden, also from Jamaica, from Golden Law Group, radio host on WOKB 1680 AM. He's a community activist and still actively involved in the Jamaican diaspora community. Thank you, gentlemen, again for being here with us. Let's take a quick break, and when we return, Mr. Berg will lead us into the roundtable discussion on wellness. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome. My name is Ronnie Walker. Allow me to introduce you to the MrRelationshipManCave.com website. Listen, gentlemen, today is not the day to show up halfway for yourself and for the woman you aim to please. Nutrition and mental health are important to fully experience a healthy and exceptional relationship. As a man, we want to make sure we have what is needed to start and finish strong. So go to www.MrRelationshipManCave.com and explore the possibilities.
So, let us use this esteemed assemblage of conscious seekers of health and wellness to see if we can shed some light on breaking the pattern that keeps Black men, men of color, at risk. The roundtable is coming up. I will direct questions aimed at specific guests. However, any of you feel free to ask questions for clarity or add your own insights, or present a different perspective than that offering by the other panelists. Let me begin by asking Dr. Bonhomme, do you find that men of color are often uncomfortable with medical exams? And if so, is there an alternative that they might more readily take advantage of? And does the past horrific experimentation on Blacks play a role here?
I think all the above.
Okay.
We have a saying that a lot of time what we feel or what it is that's bothering us, when we get to the physician, that's not what we tell them. So as a result, we cannot be provided with a proper diagnosis or proper cure because we're not telling the right issue. We're not identifying the right issue. And part of it, I believe, is fear. Fear of the unknown, but fear of being labeled, but fear of facing the consequences of what is actually happening. But then life has its course and it will force you to face it if you don't identify it, if you don't acknowledge it at first.
Okay, that is so wise. I find the same thing in my work. You know, doctor, it's self-evident that exercise is one key to good health. What about the complaint by many Black men that they're just too busy, they're tired, or they lack the energy to engage in an effective exercise routine or program? What could they possibly do about it? And how many hours should a man commit to exercise in a week?
I think someone mentioned that earlier. It's the mindset. We have to make time. We have to make it a priority. We could do 30 minutes, but if you break it down to 10 minutes, increase your intensity, just being active. Many times we are active, but you're not challenging your heart enough. So if you look at 7 days out of the week, you take 3 to 5 days, 10 minutes a day to 30 minutes a day. That is enough to get you going. And the difficult part is getting started. But once you get started, it's a game changer. But again, it's getting that self-drive, finding your why to start. And I think that will be the driver.
Yes, for me, my wife, Neva, she's a fitness buff, and you women who are into fitness and health, invite your husband to do a session with you. Also, I find on YouTube, you mentioned 10 minutes, doctor. There's so many 10-minute exercise programs or that you can do. And doing those 10 minutes, you can do it what they call interval training. Okay. Also, somebody also mentioned walking. You'd be surprised how beneficial walking is. Sam, what about the complaint that many Black men work long hours, they can't cook, they eat most meals out? Now, how is it possible for them to eat more nutritiously under those circumstances?
The thing about it to me, it's part of the healthy lifestyle. It's carving out the time to do something you like doing that happens to include exercising. That's the first step in it. I mean, if you can find something you like doing, it could be dancing, it could be playing basketball, it could be playing soccer, it could be playing table tennis or whatever you want to call it. Finding something that you like doing that gives you a chance to exercise at the same time, you forget the fact you're exercising.
Oh, good point.
That's my approach to it. Because as Doc said, you've got to start. It might start with ping pong. It might start with kicking a soccer ball with your grandson or your son or whoever. It's that little thing. It's the little first step that gets you on the path to, okay, I'm enjoying this, and you got to do it for a little more. As far as the cooking healthy part is, I mean, even if you're busy, as busy as you are, you got to take your health as your responsibility. Almost every restaurant on the road of life right now has an option that's healthy. It's making that right choice. I love burgers, and I cannot give up burgers. You know what I did? I started Burger King without the bun on a salad, and it worked. Yes. It got me to start eating that as opposed to eating the bread. I'd have a grilled burger, slice it up, put it on a side salad. Boom. That was an option that worked for me because it cut me back on the bread, cut me back on the carbs. It was Burger King meal is grilled. So if you want to do it, forget you can't cook. I'm no great cook, but there are options, fast food options. Jerk chicken. You can eat jerk chicken by itself. Forget the hard dough bread. Forget the rice and peas. That's an healthy option. Get the steamed vegetable on the side. I can go on all day in terms of simple food options, but you got to make that right choice. Whether it's a fast food or a corner restaurant or Walgreens, grab some nuts, grab some walnuts, some cashew nuts, and have them in your car while you're driving. That snacking on that holds you over so you can get a chance to have a healthy meal. It keeps you from getting those cravings that put you on the wrong path of eating something you shouldn't eat. So,
that's great. By the way, if you look at a walnut, for instance, it looks like a brain.
Yeah.
And it is brain food. Yeah. And you put a couple of walnuts in the palm of your hand and you eat them, you will not be hungry for a great period of time.
Exactly.
You won't be starved, you see. Also, it's Sam, you were talking about transition, meaning you don't have to do it all in one day. Make a gradual transition into more healthy eating. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just making those. You know, it's for me. My life has been weird. You get the crossroad where you know you've got to make the decision: turn right, turn left, do this or don't do this, and you have that conversation. You have a 10-second conversation with yourself, and if you're not, you know, it's just making that right choice at that point. Do I turn right and go to Burger King? Do I just go straight and go to the, you know, get home and eat a salad? You know,
Okay.
I tell my kids growing up, if you're going to do something, stop for 10 seconds. If you're not 100% sure you should do it, then don't. And that's my life pattern. You know, make that 10-second, pause for 10 seconds. Burger King, McDonald's, home, turn left.
All right. One last thing you mentioned earlier about mindset, Sam.
Yep.
And I think we all agree that as a man thinketh, so is he, as they said. But can you pinpoint something that I don't know, an epiphany or some event, something that changed your mind? Okay, because the mind is in the brain. That's part of our body, but we're much more than mind and brain. Can you pinpoint anything in particular that really helped to get you to pay more attention to mindset?
You know, it was. I mean, I don't want to defer back to that accident, but that accident to me, it was eye-opener because of the experience, looking at how my body responded to it and how it affected me. I mean, you know, it's like my brother made a joke. I'm lying in the hospital bed, right hand in a sling, left hand in a sling, both feet up in slings. And my brother comes to sit next to the bed. He says, "How you feel?" I said, "You know, I just knew, even in the middle of the accident, I just knew I couldn't die. It was an accident." And my sarcastic brother says, "You know, many people die thinking they can't die." And I laughed at the moment, and I was like, you know, I don't know if it was my mindset thing that I just couldn't die from the accident. I didn't want to listen to what he was saying. You know, how many people die thinking, well, I can't die from this. But I just had that mindset that there were too many things left in my life that I need to do and I have to do. And that's always been my motivation. When things slow me down or distractors, I mean, I've talked to Wayne quite a few times, and Wayne said, just focus on what you need to do. Forget the detractors. Focus on what you need to do. And Wayne has been like a big brother. I mean, Wayne is old. You can look at all the gray beard and stuff. You know, Wayne is like old guy to me. And Wayne has always been a mentor to a lot of us in the criminal association. And Wayne would say, well, you know, just focus on what you need to do. Forget about all the detractors. And sometimes we need to stop. And I'm not saying ignore your wife or ignore your kids or ignore your neighbor or your best friend. But there's a time when you've got to stop and think about you. And the best analogy for it is when you're on a plane, they tell you, if the plane's going down, what's the first thing to do? Put on your own oxygen mask first. If you can't take care of yourself first, you're of no use to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Stuck with me a long time. Take care of you, and you will be a resource for others. Otherwise, you know. So
That is true.
All right. So let's moving right along.
Lenny,
Yes.
before we go to our next guest, I know Sam has to step out,
But
but
I do want to say, I do feel honored to be on a panel with these gentlemen. I know most of them from socializing or otherwise, and it is a privilege and honor to be on here. Michelle, thank you for inviting me. And let me know if I can be on any other panel.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So, Brother Wayne.
thank you, Sam.
Brother Wayne, I mean, I don't think you're a psychotherapist anyway, but you are a counselor, right?
Absolutely.
Why do you think it's so hard to get Black people, especially men, into individual counseling, whether it be legal counseling, mental counseling, or therapy? And what does that have to do with their health?
Well, I think it's a false sense of strength. You know, I can beat this by myself mentality that has overcome most men in general. You know, we tend to have a different disposition when it comes on to letting other people direct us, you know, and health is one of those areas where we fall prey to a lot of misnomers. For example, you know, Caribbean men believe in a lot of home remedies. Now, Marky, I'm not saying holistic approaches and home remedies are not good things, but when you have a serious pain in your back or your stomach and you're going to say everything is gas, you know, that's one of the things that defeats us. Your whole idea that you feel physically fit, you feel physically strong, so nothing can be wrong with you. Or you get, for example, those who have to deal with the idea of prostate examinations, where, you know, they've heard about the process, and you know, they don't want that to happen to them. They don't want anybody sticking a finger up their orifice, you know. So these are some of the things we have to contend with culturally. And just the idea of preventative maintenance, don't wait until something breaks down, cannot go any further before you start paying attention. Just your physicals, you know, going to the doctor on a regular basis to get a physical. It's not being part and parcel of how things go in the Black community, and especially with men. Women are more likely, you know, to go and pay attention to their medical needs. Men, on the other hand, as we know, the history has clearly shown how many men have died, and the doctor says, if you had done this, if you had come at a certain time. So it's something that we have to take on head on. We have to start teaching our young men, especially, how valuable it is to their lives to follow through on certain things physically, you know, get checked. It is something that we have to ingrain in them to say, look at your family history, you know, because most things in health are not happenstance. If you have a history of heart disease in your family, if you have a history of diabetes, most Black men have diabetes running rampant through their family. Learn your family history. That's the other thing. That's the other part of it. Sometimes they don't know their family history because it's not something they talk about. You know, if you don't talk about what is happening in your family structure as far as history, and even share your own experiences, most people will fall under the radar. So I think it is a problem, and it's something that has to be addressed formally and institutionally with our young Black men coming up.
Well, Dr. Bonhami, do you feel that our men have a fear of testing, medical and or health related tests, whether it be from a conventional medicine or alternative medicine? Is that a factor?
The fear is a factor, but I think to Sam's point and Attorney Golding as well too, is that sense of self-security, that sense of self-strength, where, because if you don't know, well, the mindset is if I don't know, then it's not bothering me, it's not dealing, I don't have to deal with it. But not knowing that, you know, life will have you, will eventually you have to face it. So that sense of security or false sense of security plays a lot to deal with it. And then, of course, we have access, and knowing that there's also a disparity in the healthcare field. So not having that relatability at times have that effect as well. But I think now we have more options too. So you have healthcare providers that are from the Caribbean or that understands cultural differences. As Attorney Golding mentioned before, you know, we'll talk to our parents, our grandparents. Something hurts them. Oh, you know, I have a gas that's traveling here. The gas is in my knee. Oh, I got a cold in my knee. You know, as a medical provider, as a physical therapist, I understand. I can relate to the comments and be able to interpret that differently. Whereas if you go to a non-Caribbean physician or whatnot, as you speak with them in that manner, you know, it's gonna go over their head and not realizing that. So I think part of it, there is a disparity, but at the same time too, as Caribbean, Afro-American, there's that sense of that false sense of strength where, well, I don't feel it, it's not there. Or when it comes, I'm young, I can resist, I'm resilient, I'll fight it.
Well, that leads me to a question which we weren't going to ask you earlier, but maybe it's very important to ask you, Doctor. According to the Center for Disease Control, homicide is the #1 cause of death for Black males 44 and under. And 68% of Black men and boys under the 19 die of homicides, accidents, and suicides. Now, it's an uncomfortable question, but what are your thoughts about how this homicide and suicide relates to the health of the young men in our community?
You know, I'm gonna revert back thinking it starts in the family, in the home. Granted, you know, we all have stressors, but having a support system that allows you to vent, that allows you to share, that can have been prevented. But at the same time, if that mental strength is not there, that ability to communicate, and I think you mentioned it earlier too, to be in tune with your emotion, with yourself, and identify those precursors that as not weaknesses per se, but as a not as a time ticking bomb, but something that's learned and where you can reach to somebody else and able to share and say, hey, you know what, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm experiencing, to be able to get that counsel, at least be guided to address or manage those particular emotions. So sadly to say, if we don't have that intact family unit, that village that we used to call that raise, it takes a village to raise a kid. And nowadays we realize that village is missing. It's fragmented. And as a result too, you see the consequences. So the family unit, the village, the community, collaborating, again, that can help offset some of these numbers.
Well, it's interesting because in a way of speaking, you know, suicide especially, but maybe also homicide, it's a sort of escape in terms of dealing with reality. And Mr. Witter,
Yes, sir.
It's well known that opioid addiction is a major health problem in this country. Do you see this as a major problem affecting Black men? And if so, why? How would you go about helping them shift from that into more self-caring and a wellness lifestyle?
Well, yes, it is a major problem in our society. It is a crisis in the Black community that I think need to fix. And you know, one of the things that we have to do is to educate ourselves. A lot of you know, our brother said it earlier on, education is the key. If we know that there are certain things that is not good for us, and it comes back again to parenting. It come all the way back to parenting, because nowadays a lot of us as parents, we allow our kids to get out of the house too soon. 17, 18, 19-year-old, they're gone. And so we're not getting the chance to mold our children the way we grew up back in the island, where at 24 or 25, 26, we're still under the roof of our parents getting their guidance. And so in America, it's a different culture altogether. Culture have a lot to do with the things that we get into, our kids get into. And I think, you know, a lot of us parents, we become friends too much to our kids.
Hello.
We become so much friends. And so we can't steer them the way we're supposed to steer them out of this, out of that, because guess what? They have their cell phone and they're gone. We don't even get a chance to tell them to listen, to monitor their cell phone, to see what they're looking on and who they're linking up with, and the gangs and the company that they keep every day. We allow our kids to be too free in this society. And so because of that, lack of education as well, this becomes a problem in our society. And yes, it can be fixed. But education is the key.
Well, now, every other corner you go on in America is what? A drug store. Okay? And for every drug advertised on TV, most of which, if I'm not mistaken, are done by the pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
For a specific condition, there might be about 10 life-threatening side effects that go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to answer this, Mr. Witter, and then I want the Dr. Bonhamid to chime in after you. How can men balance the need for drugs of any kind when necessary with more wellness-oriented treatment that deals with the underlying conditions and not just the symptoms?
For me, it's a life. This wellness, this taking care of ourselves, as Brother Robert said, you have to focus on yourself before you can help others. It is a lifestyle change. When something happened to you, when you're diagnosed with any of the diseases that we're talking about, whether it's cancer or diabetes or anything, my friend, it is a lifetime style change that we have to make. We have to make that lifestyle because we can't sit down depend on drugs. Again, culturally, I come from Jamaica. Since I come to America, I am taking drugs, pharmaceutical stuff. As Brother Golden said earlier on, listen, we do the bush thing, we do the herb thing. So for us to really get off of these commercial drugs that we are bombarded with, 10 or 15 of them. I mean, I have friends that when I go see them, my gosh, they're taking 12 or 5 or 6 different drugs. So we have to make a conscious effort to change our lifestyle and become more vegan, to become more education about first of all, what we're supposed to eat and how we eat these things. Because there's a way for us to eat to be healthy. It's not everything that we throw down our throat is healthy for us, but there are ways that we're supposed to eat. A perfect example, we didn't know that we should not drink water while we're eating our meal. You're not supposed to be drinking water. Your saliva is enough. We're supposed to allow our saliva in our mouth to digest the food. Otherwise, when we go and get that nice big plate of food and sitting down and we're drinking water and we're drinking the juice with it, it's just washing down the nutrient of the food in our gut.
You mean we should meals?
So it is education. It is a total lifestyle change that we have to make consciously, because we cannot allow ourselves to be hooked on these drugs. We have to find a way to balance it. Yes, you have to take certain things that the doctor said, but we can cook. As men, we can cook and prepare the right food to help our bodies.
All right. Doctor?
I wanted to go back. I think I said the family unit, it goes back, they use it as an outlet, and then the family unit were communication. So it numbs the pain. It's not dealt with.
Oh.
So when you have the family unit, you have the ability to communicate. And now we live in social media, so everything is just respond, but there's no really emotional connection. There's no bonding. So you desensitize.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you desensitize. So I think to deal with that, you have the family unit, you have the outlet where you're able to talk about it, because all these things, if you have someone that you can talk about it, you can spell what it is that you're feeling, you're experiencing. That urge or that drive will tone down, and at least allow time for clarity.
Well, now, okay. When we think of drugs, we don't only think of drugs in terms of medical drugs or mind-altering drugs, but we think of preservatives, additives that have a drug-like effect on the body. One of those that's been mentioned a lot is the dangers of genetically modified foods versus natural or organic foods. In your view, Dr. Bonhamid, is this scientifically proven that these genetically modified foods have an adverse effect on the body? And if so, whether they are not proven, I mean, is there an alternative to that?
It is. It's not natural. It's not natural. So as you look at your body, and if you look at science as well too, when you look at 10, 20 years ago, how food was being manufactured or produced, and you look at our soil sample now, it doesn't have the same amount of nutrients. It's different. And that's why now too, you find a lot of providers are encouraging supplementation, either to taking vitamins or extra to help build your system.
Right.
So overall, even when you go to the stores, certain products you look at their life, you look at their lifespan, and you see how long it takes them to rot or at least frizzle, and some never frizzles at all. And you wonder, life, you have a beginning and an end, but these things are going forever. So your body itself is an organic being. So you may not notice the effect because your body is designed to fight whatever comes to it.
Yes.
Even if you get injured. And I tell clients that your body is designed to heal itself. However, you need to add the right amount of stress to it. You need to coach it properly to get the maximum results. But our body is an amazing machine and it's designed to fight with everything. But it gets to a point, as we age, we notice things change. Your capacity change. So as a result, the rebounding effect is not as efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not as efficient, you need support.
Yes.
The right food, the right nutrition, the right amount of rest, sleep, also help facilitate the bodies to respond to heal.
Now, just like people will tell you, if you go to Mexico, don't drink the water. Now, on the other hand, some critics of people who emigrate here, whether it be from Mexico, South America, even from the islands, they claim that people of color are more subject to disease here and thus a threat to the health of the nation. Is there any truth in that claim, Mr. Golding?
That's absolutely ridiculous. And it's something that, it harps back to really prejudicial opinions that people form. As a matter of fact, most people who are immigrating to the United States have to go through a battery of medical testing for all sorts of diseases. And we're talking about people who are migrating here as legal permanent residents. And sometimes, we get, we're in the era now where everybody's so nervous about vaccinations. They tell you, especially if you're from the Caribbean, there's a telltale sign. If we all roll up our sleeves, you'll see a big pot mark that we probably have from being vaccinated by those big fat needles.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Health consciousness has always been a big focus in the Caribbean and other countries. And I'll tell you, most of the diseases that have happened, that have ravaged other countries, have actually come from the mainland.
Hello.
Here in the United States, and have traveled into countries, right across the world. So, for somebody to paint it with a broad brush like that, it shows, that sort of mindset, which is something we all have to fight over, mentally. But even here in the Afro community, it seems like what has been imparted as unhealthy stuff on us, we're being blamed for that. Let's get back to some of the food that we talk about that we eat. You must remember that some of the things that people consider now delicacies, they travel from all over the world to get the stuff. The only reason why we had to eat this stuff was those were the scraps. Those were the only things available to us as a people.
Yes.
When we had to eat after these people, the oxtail, the chicken feet, the gizzards, the lights, the fish head, all of these things. Now, we have found ways to make them succulent and attractive to the rest of the world. People travel hundreds of miles to go up to the Geechee folks to eat what they eat, to go down south to New Orleans, to whatever. But it was the only reason we ended up with these foods, which are sometimes now we're finding out that are not really good for us. It's because that's all we could get. So when they try and blame the victims as the perpetrators. It's a common theme that we see. So it's all poppycock, and we know that. And just to close, and on top of that, I want to give kudos to all those immigrants who are the frontline workers in this country.
All right.
Who are now the doctors, the teachers, the ambulance drivers, all of these people who are contributing to the health of this country.
Amen.
So, if they want to blame, let them blame, but the results speak for themselves.
Now, somebody else wanted to.
No, Len, I wanted to chime in, and
Yes, please.
I remember growing up in Haiti. Our parents they had those canneries that filled with water, and they were peeling aloe and put it in there and making us drink it.
How about that?
We hated it. We didn't have any bad taste for it. We just didn't want to do it. And it wasn't until 20 years later here in the United States, we're like, oh, aloe vera this, aloe vera that. And I'm like, we've been using that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but we just didn't have the industry to monetize it, to really understand its value. But our grandparents have been doing that. Yes. And we've been, benefiting from it, but without really understanding its value. Yes. And to see now 20, 30 years later, we're like, wow, this has these benefits that we did not know. And we saw the difference that it made.
Well, it's called infused water.
You look at almonds, it goes crazy back home.
Yes.
Okay.
You look at bulgur wheat. We thought that used to be the food for the poor. That's why they call it. It's food for the poor.
Now I want to speak on that right now because isn't it ironic that we have thrown away the brown rice to eat the white rice? Okay, we've thrown away, even in Africa and the Caribbean, the raw black sugar with all the minerals in it to eat the white sugar.
Yes.
We've thrown away that black salt with all the minerals in it to eat the white salt.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Convenience and marketing.
All right. But now there's another thing. Let's face it, Mr. Golden. Isn't it true that many immigrants and also native-born Black men just don't have health insurance and do not go to the doctor because they can't afford it? That's another reason. What's the alternative for such people who, even for the undocumented who fear they'll be turned in? What do they do when they can't avail themselves of traditional health services?
Well, that's why we give kudos to those people in our communities who have established clinics and these kinds of options that are not available for our people of color right across the community, whether they're immigrants, undocumented, or people poor. We have working professionals, even in my profession, that can't afford health insurance. So imagine what it means for a family who would have to pay that out of pocket. We as a community, though, we really have to concentrate on providing where we can find the resources, some basic health services and health diagnosis for our people, because it will eventually save their lives.
Yeah.
So many people walking around with hypertension, for example, is a silent killer in our community. And it's within our hands as professionals who maybe have that contact or those opportunities to provide some sort of pro bono healthcare. That cannot be the solution, but it's a start, because the problem is real. People are dying because they don't have insurance.
Yes.
Well, I can attest to that, because both as a holistic practitioner as well as a soul therapist, I have clients. I have a sliding scale, and I do some pro bono work also. It's absolutely necessary.
If I could,
Sure.
Please. Danny, one of the things, again, it comes back to education and being aware of your surrounding and the things that are available for you. I find that as a businessman going through life here in America, sometime, as your own self-employed person, you're out of insurance in between getting a job or having insurance for yourself. And so one of the things that I have done is talk to my doctor. You know, when I get the chance to see my doctor, I talk to my doctor. And I have got the advice over the years from different doctors to call the manufacturers. Every single manufacturers in America that manufacture any form of drugs have some form of community programs, some form of programs that the people who cannot afford insurance, they can apply and get those benefits. I mean, I can tell you because I'm on it even right now. I have I do insulin, and one of the things that I do is go straight to the manufacturer. And those manufacturers, the government pay them billions of dollars to research. And so they all have some form of program to assist the poor and the people who cannot afford insurance. So again, the people, if you're listening out there, whatever drugs you're on or medication you're on, you can get some form of assistance from the manufacturer of those drugs. It's all about education and knowing. My last point on this, I used to go to the Caucasian doctors when I come here. I have totally changed that over the years, and no disrespect to any of them. But I go make sure that when I go to see a doctor, I am talking to a doctor that is from overseas. It doesn't matter if they're from the Caribbean. It doesn't matter which part of the world they're from. They have a different mindset. They are the one that will help you because they know where we're coming from. And so those are some things that I would love to pass on to some of our listeners.
All right.
Get these things because they are available to us.
Okay, ça va, Dr. B. Is it an urban myth, Dr. B, that carrying cell phones in the front or hip pocket can cause erectile dysfunction or kill sperm or possibly cause colon cancer? If so, what can men and women do to counteract the effects of this radiation from these cell phones?
Well, in the world that we live in now, so we're using headsets, radiation affects it. So because we don't readily see it, or if no one close to you has been affected, you may dismiss it. But overall, so technology has many advances, but at the same time, it also has disadvantages or cause. There's a cause and effect. So in light of that, of course, we recommend, don't keep it close to your body. Well, now there's cases that you can use that helps minimize the, spread or contain radiation, if you will. So we don't want to you don't want to experience that to come to find out 10 years later, 20 years later, as a result of those habits that you were having, that's what led to your condition. So I encourage, hit those caution, keep it away, either pocketbook or away from you to not have to experience it.
Let me underscore that, doctor, because I went to a health practitioner who was practicing energy medicine, and they noticed on my side of around my intestines, there was some kind of darkness, some kind of issue going on. Where do you think I was keeping my cell phone? In a case, right there. I hurry up and did just what you suggested, doctor. I went on Amazon.com and I got a radiation case with radiation shield on it. And I always have that shield between my body and the phone. And I see so many young people, especially women, with these cell phones in their back pocket. Not only is it susceptible to being pickpocketed, but it's also a possibility of getting radiation in the arse. So
yes.
A word to that. You're right. Put it in your pocketbook. Okay. Now,
and Louis, also too, I just want to add that also women are putting their cell phones in their bras.
In their bosom.
Not a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Well,
too close to the heart.
Well, Mia, since you spoke up, we're gonna end this round of questionings until we get our final questions in with you. Men of color often act as if you're nagging them when you try to get them to be more conscious about self-care and wellness. I want you to share with us, what have you found to be the best way to inspire our men of color to become more proactive about their health? And also, can you add in there a little bit about the food preparation? Because many of our brothers, this stymies them, just how do I eat to live instead of living to eat? So would you speak on that, please?
When it comes to nagging men to do things, we have to stop, because they don't want to be treated like, their mother. Growing up, your mother always nagged you, do this, do that, do that. And you start to resent it and you start rebelling. So, for wives that are listening, when you're in a relationship, whether it's, marriage or your significant partner, that it is a 50-50 relationship, and we have to respect each other. And also, if we want them to do certain things, we have to ask them kindly and, do things together. Just like, you may cook together, you may and exercise together. Let's get healthy together. So it's not always just about him, even throw in there that, I got some things, sweetheart, I need to work on. So help me. And, go about it on that approach. And again, teamwork, make the dream work.
Okay, well, now, one last thing for you, Mia. I've heard you mention that we need to listen to our body more, okay, in terms of possible things happening. Could you be a little more specific about what that means and how do you do it, and how did you do it in your life?
Our body will give us signs, and we have to pay attention to it. Means if, for example, if you're getting, continuous headaches and you may take something, it doesn't go away, comes back again, that is a red flag. If you're getting pains, whether, it's in your back, your foot, whatever parts of the body, and after taking, something, a pain reliever, it doesn't go away. The doctor always tell you, if the pain is consistent, go seek help and get to the root of the problem. Secondly, Google doesn't have an MD medical. Stop Googling. And I want to say that because I'm also guilty of that, because one time I was having pains in my my right side, my stomach and going around to my back. And I Googled, and it came up that it could be my kidneys, and I'm starting panicking and everything and stuff. And I called my niece, which is an RN, and she just like, go to the doctor, go to the hospital, go get checked. And it's a good thing that I went, because when I went there, they did an MRI, and come to find out it was my gallbladder and I needed to have surgery. So if I would have been sitting there just listening and, just watching, taking advice from Google or trying to take some medication, it would have been worse. So again, pay attention to your body. It's going to tell you when something is wrong.
Okay, so now, thank you, Mia.
The Jamaican American Association of Central Florida presents our annual Jamaica Independence Church service on Sunday, July 28th from 4 till 6 p.m. Join us at the North Orlando Seventh-day Adventist Church, 4125 North Hiawassee Road, Orlando, Florida, 32818. Speaker, Evangelist Rupert D. Henry. MC, Dr. Arlene Thompson. Gospel artist, Stacy Elevated Wilson and Mr. J. Brown. Saxophonist, Mr. Jeremy D. Aguirre. Refreshments will be provided. For more information, call 407-292-3719 or visit jaaocf.com. Come and be blessed.
The
the Jamaican American Association of Central Florida will be celebrating Jamaica's 62nd year of independence in style at the Hilton Altamont Springs Hotel, 350 North Lake Boulevard, Altamont Springs, Florida, 32701 on Saturday, August the 10th from 6 p.m. till 1 a.m. Keynote speaker, Dr. Gershom Nelson. Co-MCs, Dr. Philip Leafat and Miss Debbie Jarrett. Singer, gospel artist, Stacy Elevated Wilson. Music by DJ Charlie Brown. Tickets, $80. $40 for children 12 and under. For more information, call 407-292-3719 or visit JAAOCF.com. Join us for an evening of elegance, entertainment, and enlightenment.
We're coming close to the end of the program. So for me, I'm not going to make that personal decision for Black men or anyone else. But here's what I say. Whether you take a vaccine or not, I'm going to echo what others have said. You need to learn, what can I do personally without depending upon anyone outside of me to strengthen my immune system and help my body to heal itself. Whether it be getting the sunshine every day for D3, because all people with COVID are seriously low in vitamin D3. And so many people who don't have COVID are low in it. A lot of the prostate cancer has to do with lack of zinc, vitamin C, zinc, etc. That's the first thing. And I believe what all have said about education. Stop depending upon someone to tell you what to do. Mm-hmm. Begin to do your own research and get more than one opinion.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say from personal experience, you mentioned lifestyles. I've been a vegetarian since 1973, but not just a vegetarian, a holistic health practitioner. I have 5 children. None of them have ever been vaccinated, and none of them have any health problems. Okay. They've gone to school. We've got letters of exemption on religious basis. But I'm not going to tell people you should or should not get a vaccine. Take personal responsibility, okay? The second question, which we'd like everyone to answer, is what role, if any, does consciousness and spirituality play in helping Black men to step up their self-care and wellness game? You start us off. Golden, rather?
Yes. It's an internal process, about spirituality. It's different from religion. A lot of us get caught in that whole idea of doctrine and all of that stuff and religion. But your inner thoughts, your inner peace is what your spirituality is about. If your mind is not healthy, your body will not be healthy. And I encourage people, like something Sam said earlier, you got to take some time to think before you do anything, before you make a decision. They say a second of pleasure can cost you a lifetime of pain. So I think it's very important that we understand that within ourselves, we have so much power. And just making those decisions that not only will affect our life, but other people's lives, especially when it comes on to your health. Again, if you're not around, you can't take care of the problems that you think you're there to take care of. And your health is number one. And don't take it simple. I tell people all the time, I'm allergic to pain. The minute I feel a little hitch or something, I'm calling that doctor. I'm going, because for one, I'm paying a lot of health insurance anyway, but that's his job, that's their job, that's a professional's job. So if you are feeling something, don't delay, because delay is danger. We know so many people who have had heart attacks, who have had strokes, because they're just waiting all the way till tomorrow to go, whatever. Especially in the society that we live in, where access is there. If you have that access, please don't be afraid to utilize it. Don't be afraid to go to the emergency room. because it's your life you're dealing with.
All right. Mr. Witter.
Yes. He is the temple of the Lord. And for those of us who believe in that, it is very important that we treat that body that the Lord gave us as that temple, as he said it is. To be conscious, you have to be in an environment, spiritually, mentally. You have to make sure that you're not somebody who is wishy-washy. You have to read and understand the book of the law that said, hey, if you believe that you're not supposed to eat pork, you don't eat pork. And maybe you go down the road and the pork smell good and you take a little piece because you're not conscious enough to say, that is not what I need in my body. You go down the road, you get a little piece of shrimp or whatever the case might be, but you're wishy-washy. So again, being conscious and understand that your body is that temple, and whatever you put in it is very, very important for that temple to stay alive, is very, very important.
All right. Thank you. Dr. B, spirituality and consciousness.
I had a client of mine, we talk about that. I think it comes down to spirituality, but know thyself, be in tune with yourself, and be responsible. Because as you are in tune with yourself and you're responsible or acknowledge the self and be aware, that awareness, and I think then you begin to have that synchronicity within the body, and spirituality will lead and be submissive to it, or be sensitive to it.
All right, thank you. Mia?
As for me, I do meditation, which is good to help, mental wellness. And it also helps me to, clear my mind and from unwanted things, because, we deal with so much stuff throughout the day that, in the morning I wake up, I do meditation to start my day on a positive note. At night, I do meditation to just clear my head from anything and to sleep peacefully. And also meditation, to commune with God, seek wisdom and guidance. And also, eat foods that heal our body. That's so important.
Okay, for me, I became a soul therapist because when I went to school and they defined psychology, they said it's the study of the mind and human behavior. But when I went around the world and met many different saints and sages of many different religions, backgrounds, they said, and I looked at the dictionary of etymology, it said that the root psyche in psychology, core meaning is the animating part of your being. So I said, well, where is the spirit in this psychology? Well, on the walls of the monuments in ancient Egypt or Kemet, it said, man, know thyself, which has been mentioned. But here's the thing that many of us don't realize in terms of spirituality and consciousness. The self is not essentially the costumes we wear, our bodies, our minds, our nose, our bank book, our materials, our fame, our fortune. No, the self is that eternal part of our being, which we call the spirit. And all your scriptures say the spirit is of the same essence as our creator. The spirit is the life force within us. In Latin, it means, spiritus means breath. So what does that mean? It means that whatever healing dimension you want to go into, however you want to deal with COVID or not, intellect alone does not completely serve you. In my practice, the main currency that I use is truth and consciousness. Why? Because consciousness is your direct connection to your creator, because it's made in the image of the creator. Mm-hmm. Your spirit is, and your spirit uses consciousness in the world. So when you are not being conscious, you are susceptible to all kinds of dis-ease, I call it, whether it be body, mind, or whatever. Okay, so when you suppress consciousness, you invite dis-ease, and therefore the truth and love and consciousness are all synonymous with our creator. That's my approach to it. The last question is, it is Caribbean American Heritage Month, and the key to every culture seems to be food and custom. How can we integrate healthy living with our unique and beautiful cultures that we all have been brought up in or are part of? Okay, let's start again with Attorney Harding.
Well, part of the problem with integration is that people try and attach themselves to the most popular part of somebody else's culture, whether it's the language, whether it's the food, whatever. So the transition often is not in a way where it's necessarily the best part of it. For example, the first thing that some people learn in another language is a bad word, what we call a bad word or an expletive or whatever. They learn to say those things. But it's the same thing when we're transferring culture and healthy living and food. Because I'll tell you, for Jamaica in particular, everybody knows about the Rastafarians now. But part of their beginning in the 1950s had to do with diet and just a simple fact that you should not be consuming salt, as simple as it was. And now it's sort of transitioned into so many different aspects where people think it's just about the music, think it's about the worship of Haile Selassie. People are wearing dreads now as a fashion statement, so to speak. But, there are great things about the different Caribbean cultures and the healthy part of the Caribbean culture. People used to get up, go to the beach every morning. They swim, they exercise, they eat properly, they eat natural foods. You're talking about people who are saying they're vegetarian, pescatarian now. That was there from day one. It's just that now it's commercialized and everybody's paying attention to organic food now. All our foods that we planted back in the days in the Caribbean was organic. So there are positives to transfer. It's just that most of it has gotten lost in that transfer. And if we go back to some of the life lessons we learned on how to grow your food, how to store your food, how to preserve your food, I think it will be a valuable lesson in the culture transfer.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Mr. Witter.
Yes, I give thanks and praise that we get the opportunity to celebrate a cultural month like this in America, to show the contribution of what we Caribbean people have done in this country. That is a good thing. But most of us comes from the island. When we come here, we get so involved and caught up with the American system that within 7 years of our life here, that's when our health start going down. Because one, we don't walk anymore. Every time we have our nice, beautiful cars. If we're just going down a block, we drive. We don't walk. We don't get into the sun anymore because, hey, man, I don't want to get too black. I want to look cool and light and white. And so those are things that we don't do. We continue to eat the same food, even when we are 20, 30, we eating the same food that we were eating when we were young. And someone mentioned earlier on, we can't continue to eat the same food when we're 25, 30, and now we're 50. We're eating the same dumpling and rice and sugar with full of oil and expect to live. And so, yes, we have good food in our country. Yes, our foreparents did what they needed to do to make sure the oxtail and the pigtail and all of that stuff that they get on the back end, they make sure that they spruce it up nice and it becomes a nice sounding and tasting food now, but not all of that we need to continue to eat, because not every way that we were eating those food or they taught us to eat is correct. And so again, education of what we're supposed to eat, when we're supposed to eat, and the last point I make, when we come into this country, a lot of us become lazy. So our health also deteriorate because of that.
All right, thank you, Dr. B.
I think it's a great opportunity. When we talk about exchange program where you have all this multicultural exchange and there's a lot of positive and negative, but I think if we look around, there's more similarities amongst us. So being able to use those and hold our culture, especially the good parts, where we can share and exchange those. I think if we take those to heart and start practicing those, we can see a change. Yes, food, mannerism, all that comes into play. As Louis mentioned, when we come to the United States, of course, you found convenience, so that takes precedent, but also the lifestyle that you live because you're trying to make it, as we call it. You want to live the dream, the American dream. Something gives, but as you strengthen your foundation and you bring your priorities in order, and as we get older, you begin to reset your priorities. As you reset your priorities, take the goods, strengthen them, pass them on to your children, grandchildren as well, so those can become the breathing, living matters within the family unit, and share that among cultures.
Mm-hmm. Mia, you're one of our queens of culture. What have you to say about this?
First of all, I have to say a special thank you to my friend Sandy Moraes, because this book, I don't know if you guys can see, it's Vegan Recipe for Life, her cookbook. I've learned to, again, eat healthy. She is like my go-to consultant when it comes to eating healthy. And I love my Jamaican food, my rice and peas. And I've learned to even, one of the recipes she have is that removing the rice and adding quinoa, making a rice and peas. If you want spaghetti, you can change that to something else, and squash, you can do that. Also, we love our macaroni and cheese, or as the Trinis call it, macaroni pie. Yes. She has substitute that with cashew cheese sauce. Delicious. Even, the shakes, healthy shakes. They're all natural. She's taught me how to make my own almond milk, and I even have my granddaughter helping me make shakes, and she loves it. So, starting, with our young children as well, teaching them how to eat healthy and making healthy choice, that when they get older, if they're passing a McDonald's or like a fast food, they will go somewhere else, a healthier, or they'll just go home and fix something to eat. So again, healthy eating starts at home. That's something that I was brought up on. My mother was an old West Indian woman, and trust and believe, she eat healthy, lived to she was 94 years old, not one wrinkle on her face. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't born in the Caribbean. That's where my heart is. That's where I'd rather be sometimes. I'm reminded of a president of a so-called third world country. It wasn't in the Caribbean, it was in Africa, but he said something which I found very insightful. He said, the problem with you people, you're sitting underneath the mango tree and you're looking up and letting the mango hit you in the head. It's more than just our the culture and the customs that we know of. My advice is that we should go back, as some of you have said, to the roots of our culture, okay? And we should include in that spiritual culture, meaning what do we have in common what drives our culture? What is the life force of our culture? Right now, I would like to move on, if I may, Ms. Mia, and summarize some of the things that we've learned in today's session before we get to the office, okay? To be very brief, one of the main things was service. Our Black men and all of us, let's not just think about our health, but how can we be of more service to our community, to our family, to our loved ones, to our friends, okay? Let's approach our health from that point of view also. Because if we are more in tune with our health and well-being, we're going to be better able to work better, to fulfill our dreams and visions, and protect and take care of our families. Another thing that came out is that our men should look at the history, the health history in your family. Is there heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, Alzheimer's? These are warning signs that you need to go and find out about it. And I would say that if you can't afford to go to, to have medical insurance, you buy them Gucci pants, you buy that bling bling, you go to the movies and spend $100. At least go get some kind of examination from somebody to find out what your susceptibilities are based upon your family history. Also, look at getting into health as a transition. You don't have to do it all in one day. Begin to educate yourself, as has been said, and get different opinions, do your own research, talk to people who've been there. These gentlemen and lady on the panel, you need to talk to these people, ask questions, because they've gone through it. They're not just speaking out of no book in some library. They're speaking about firsthand spiritual experience. In addition, look for alternatives, meaning, most of us understand that we kind of know that the lifestyle and diet that is a typical American diet is wanting. So let us begin to look for alternatives and implement them little by little in our lives.
The People's Chat Room is at it again. Comedy, Calypso, Caribbean Jazz. Saturday, September 21st. Doors open at 6 p.m. The show starts at 7 with the man who let the dogs out, Mr. Anselm Douglas. Comedians Joe Neal and Tony Black. And holding down the Caribbean Jazz, Miss Lima Dunbar. Fashion show by Slade Statements. Location, American Legion, 1912A Lee Road, Orlando, Florida. Early bird tickets, $25. General admission, $30. More at the door. Visit thepeopleschatroom.com for your ticket purchases or call 321-263-9939 or 347-564-4184. There will be a cash bar. So see you on September 21st for comedy, Calypso, and Caribbean Jazz.
So I think it's obvious by what we've heard here so far today that there is a pattern that leads to greater health and well-being by people who are giving you their firsthand experience. And it's very impressive. And it certainly reveals why we decided to do this program today.
I would like to say a special thank you to my co-host, Mr. Leonard Burke, and our special guest, Dr. Alderbon Homey, Mr. Lewis Witter, Attorney Wayne Golden, and Mr. Samuel Roberts, and you, the viewers. As we wrap up today's show, let's take a moment and reflect on the importance of men's health in living the life we love. Men often face unique health challenges, and addressing these proactively can make a significant difference in overall well-being and longevity. Firstly, regular medical checkups are crucial. Many men tend to avoid visiting the doctor even when experiencing significant symptoms. This avoidance can lead to undiagnosed conditions that could have been managed or treated effectively if caught early. It's essential to break the stigma that is seeking medical help is a sign of weakness. In reality, it is a proactive step towards maintaining health and vitality. Secondly, mental health is just as important as physical health. Men are often less likely to seek help for mental health issues due to societal expectation and traditional models of masculinity. However, mental health challenges, including depression and anxiety, are common and can be managed with the right support and treatment. Lastly, lifestyle choices play a significant role in health. Regular exercise, a balanced diet, and adequate sleep are fundamental for good health. Engaging in activities that promote physical fitness and mental relaxation can help mitigate the risk of chronic diseases and improve quality of life. Remember, folks, taking care of your health is not just about adding years to your life, but adding life to your years. Prioritizing your health, seek regular medical advice, and don't hesitate to reach out for support when needed. Live the life you love by making your health a priority. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel at Glow 365 TV shows to watch previous and upcoming shows to continue to find your power of glow that equals our greater level of wellness within the mind, body, and soul. This is your girl, Master Coach Lady Mia. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, stay healthy and take care of self.